Salutations, mortals and children of the night. I'm the Vampire Otaku, and in this video, I want to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time for Spooky Month. That movie is Only Lovers Left Alive. Has an all-star cast, amazing cast. You got the actor that does Loki, you got Tilda Swinton, just amazing acting. And my favorite thing about this movie is it was filmed in the city that I was born in, Detroit, Michigan, which is really interesting because back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was rather difficult to film in Detroit. A lot of movies that said that the setting was Detroit was actually some other city or even a whole nother state. One of those movies being The Crow. The movie was supposed to be filmed in Detroit, but it was a completely different location. So I really appreciate seeing all the landmarks and all of the familiar buildings and roads that my city has to offer within this movie. And another plus, it's about vampires. So I'm always gonna love that. Well, let's get into the many beautiful and wonderful attributes of this movie. Welcome to Spooky Season. I am your host, the Vampire Otaku. So Only Lovers Left Alive is a movie about two vampires that are the representation of yin and yang, and it's very blatant within their physical appearance and the way that they approach their immortal lives. One person consumes art, consumes media, consumes dancing, and has a knack for being able to tell when something was created. She can touch something and know this came from 1937 or this is from the 1800s. While the other character has the knack for creating the art, making music, being in a house surrounded by some of the most influential and most rare instruments as far as music is concerned, and an amazing artist, just a really creative being. So one consumes the art and the other one creates the art, and together they form into each other almost as one being, which is really fun. One is very happy about humans and the existence, just existing with them, and the other one loathes humans and calls them zombies, which I think is very funny. There are many things to love about this movie. If you're looking for a movie that's full of action and blood and gore, this isn't the movie. Even though it's about vampires, it's not about their grotesque nature, the way that they kill, the way that they drink blood. It has a few of those elements in it, but this movie deals with the loneliness, the existentialism, the nihilism, and the overwhelming amount of time that you have and what you do with your time. Especially with Tom's character. His name is Adam, and Tilda's character name is Eve. The movie starts off very slowly, and it shows just how euphoric blood intake is for these vampires. Some vampires, they drink blood, and it's food. You know, they're satisfied, they're satiated. In this movie, in this particular universe, blood is almost a drug. You get such a high from it, and it keeps you going, it keeps you alive, like an addiction, where you've become so addicted that you run the risk of getting sick and losing your life without the substance. Another interesting concept about this movie is the people that don't take care of themselves, the drug addicts, the alcoholics, the people who have really severe health problems, their blood is toxic to vampires. So vampires have to be very selective and careful about who they drink from. And in this movie, Adam has the relationship with a few doctors in a hospital where he gets type O negative blood, very good quality blood, and that keeps him healthy and keeps him going. Despite that, Tom's character, and I have a few spoilers in this video because the story is just too good not to share, but if you haven't watched it, please do. It's a very, very well done movie. That being said, Tom's character is very tragic, very tired of existing, just not being able to get along with his human counterparts. He has a line where he says that they're wasting their potential. The humans are, they're afraid of their own creativity. They're killing each other for having different ideas. Not word for word, but that's like the gist of Tom's feelings about, or Adam's feelings about his human counterparts. Like they're too afraid of their creative prowess and what they're capable of. And they fall short, they don't take care of themselves. The water's poisonous, their blood's poisonous. Like, he's tired of it. So in the very beginning of the movie, Tom wants to end it all. Regular bullets aren't going to kill him, so he has a human that he pays lots of money to get him things, because Adam is a recluse. He doesn't leave his house unless he needs to. He hates to be bothered. He likes to be alone. I can relate. He decides that the human that he hangs out with from time to time basically is his errand boy. He pays him money to get him things. He finds him rare guitars. He helps him to basically keep him living alone and not being bothered. He lives in a house that's kind of boarded up, very nice on the inside. Like, it's not beautiful, but there's so much potential for beauty underneath. The bones of the house, very beautiful. And that's something that Detroit has a lot of, an abundance. Beautiful big houses that are just unfinished. So this human basically runs errands for him. Within this house, he keeps people away. He makes rumors that the guy that you're looking for is actually in another city or another place. He's not at this house, just to help Adam continue his reclusive life. In exchange, he gives him money. He lets him hear like unreleased music, because this guy's a big fan of Adam's music. But Adam doesn't like to put his music out there. Adam likes to create and create. And throughout history, he's given other people his ideas so his ideas can get out there into the world without him being the face of the ideas. In the lore of the movie, he's given Shakespeare stories and other scientist ideas about theories, theory of relativity and all those things. Violin, concertos, those were his ideas. He just simply couldn't be the face of it because he didn't feel like having to be on the run or having to continuously change his identities and leave places, because people would start to wonder, why is this guy still alive 100 years later? Why does he still look the same? He didn't want to deal with that, so he let other people have his ideas, so his ideas could be out there in the world, but he's not out there in the world. He's conspicuous. So long story short, he gets this human to essentially find him some of the strongest wood. I forgot exactly what the wood was called, but he had the wood fashioned into a bullet, and he was gonna attempt to take his own life because he was tired of existence. And his girlfriend, his wife, Eve, I think it's really cool how they call each other Adam and Eve. She wants to visit. They live in completely different places. Adam lives in Detroit. Eve lives somewhere in the Middle East. I don't remember what country. Somewhere. It's a very beautiful place as well. They have such interesting aesthetics for where they live and how they dress. So you get to see how she's living. She's surrounded by books. She reads very quickly. She just consumes information, while Adam is surrounded by instruments and wires and technology, old technology. But his old technology, he uses in a way that's modern, which is super interesting. He lives off the grid, has his own power source within that house. Super cool. She has so many books. They're just like, I have a few books behind me, but she doesn't even have bookshelves. She has tables made out of books. Like, if she needed blinds for her windows, they would be books, just books everywhere. And she has like an iPhone. It's not like a super new iPhone, but it's newer than Adam's old phone that he uses. And they video chat each other, and right off rip, she can tell that Adam just not feeling himself. Adam is trying to mask his depression but he's not successful when it comes to Eve. Eve can see through his mask that he's trying to create. They go back and forth on who visits who, and Adam is like, you should visit me, and she's like, well, these planes are tough and we have to do all the traveling at night. They live on two sides of the world. That's like the craziest long distance relationship ever, but they really make it work. So she comes to visit, and their relationship is just so wholesome and so sweet and so endearing. And when he's down and out, she's picking him up, and they dance together, they drink blood together, they reminisce on the past. It's really nice. He gets to show her how he's living, what he's up to, the music that he's into, how he powers his house. They play chess together. She freezes the blood and makes freezy pops with blood, which is really adorable. And they avoid killing people because, one, people's blood usually tainted, but also it's not messy. You don't have to worry about anybody trying to figure out, where is this person? Where's my son? Where's my daughter? Where's my mom? And then, you don't have to hide the bodies or anything. It's just you get blood from a hospital or from a blood bank, and it's easy. So backtracking a little bit, Eve gets on the plane, and she has to only take the plane at night because vampires in this universe can't exist during the day. They'll be destroyed by it. So it was interesting. I've always thought about, if I became a vampire, how would I travel? How would I do this? How would I do that? And it's interesting how they sort of answered some of those questions with the modern day traveling, being able to take flights only at night. And if you have the money, those things aren't that hard. They're inconvenient, but they're not difficult to do in this day and age. I think the movie takes place in like 2014, 2015. It's like kind of a modern movie. It's kind of under the radar. But anyway, they hang out with each other, really enjoying each other's company. And then Eve sees the gun. She's like, wonder why he has a gun. She unloads it and notices the bullet isn't a regular bullet, it's wood. She puts two and two together. Why do you have a wooden bullet? Wood kills our kind. They're keeping some traditional aspects of vampirism within this story. So she's like, my guy is trying to off himself. My guy is trying to end his existence, and he didn't talk to me about it. So she confronts him immediately. He's like, no. She's like, no, don't do this. Like, you have so much to live for. And then he breaks down. He's like, it's these humans, these zombies, I can't stand them. They're afraid of their own creativity. And she's like, yeah, you're right, but still, like, you need to keep existing. If you're not gonna exist for yourself, exist for me. I know it's selfish, but I want you around. I don't care. And their love is just so beautiful. She's like, dance with me. So they dance. She's like, I'm here always. If you feel like life and existence is too difficult for you, you don't have to shoulder all that by yourself. That was really sweet. And then, like, there's no conflict in this movie, right? So I was thinking about that. I'm like, this is a cool story. It's very artful. It's very interesting, but it's missing something. And as soon as I thought that, there's the conflict of the blood being contaminated, but they found ways around it. So it's not really a conflict anymore. The conflict is when Ava, Eve's sister, she's like, these vampires are somewhat clairvoyant in this film, and she's able to send dreams to people. Well, not people, well, maybe people, I'm not sure, but in this instance, other vampires, and she sends Adam and Eve dreams. And then she pops up at their doorstep, and then you get kind of a background of why Adam is weary of her existence and weary of her presence. And you see that, so back in the day, I think it was like the 30s or the 40s. I don't remember exactly what decade, but she got them in a lot of trouble back in the day. So Adam is like, I don't want to deal with her ever again. So he's very weary, and right out the bat, like, she's disrespectful. She, touching his instruments, messing with his stuff, trying to listen to his unreleased music, and trying to drink up all their blood. And Adam's like, yo, this is, this stuff is hard to come by. Like, you can't just drink it all, and you didn't get it for yourself. Like, I got it. Like, and she's just super disrespectful, super selfish, super thoughtless. So the human friend that Adam has comes by, And he's like, let's go out, let's listen to some music, let's go see some live music. Adam's like, no, I'm a recluse, I don't want to do that. Eve is like, I mean, I don't mind, it'd be kind of fun. Ava's the instigator. She's like, you guys don't ever go out and do anything. Why don't we all go out and do this? He doesn't take you on any dates. He's not good to you. And this like riles up Adam a little bit, but he's trying to ignore it because he knows what she's about. And he ends up going out with everybody, and they go to a little party, and they're playing music, live music. And then he notices that his unreleased music is being played. And he's like, who got my record? How did they do this? You know, he's freaking out. He's feeling paranoia. So he just wants to leave. So he leaves. The human friend of Adam comes with them. He hangs out at the house for a little while. You know, Adam is tired. Eve is tired. So they don't really go out like that. They just enjoy each other's company. They go out for a drive every once in a while. By the way, as you know, I'm a big fan of cars. You know, you got Initial D back there and whatnot. And a lot of my shorts have cars in them. The car in this movie is super cool. Like, Adam drives a Jaguar, like an older Jaguar with a V12 in it. And it's just super cool. It really fits the Detroit vibe and just an interesting car that a vampire would drive. That's a side note. Back to the story. Adam, you know, he's tired. Eve is tired. So they basically leave Ava, Adam's friend, in the room, which is a horrible idea, but I'm sure Adam wasn't thinking clearly. He just wanted to get some rest. So they talk, they hang out. The guy's like, I think I'm gonna, you know, get ready to leave. And she's like, no, stay. She's being super flirtatious, and you know, he's drinking. She's not drinking because she doesn't need to drink alcohol. She's a vampire. It goes to the next scene. Adam and Eve wake up. First, Eve wakes up. She slowly walks into the room, and she noticed the room is just thrashed. There's like stuff all over the floor. It's not completely destroyed, but it's definitely not as tidy as it was when she last saw the room. So she's like, what's going on? She looks up and noticed that Ava has blood all over her face. Adam's human friend looks lifeless laying next to her on the couch. Eve just drops the blood that she was holding in her hand just out of shock. And then she notices that a bunch of rare instruments are broken in half, and Eve is just like, oh my god, like I can't believe this. But it's on brand for her character. Like, she represents the chaos. You got yin and yang, and then you just have chaos. She's the conflict of the story. Essentially, Adam is like, oh, he walks into the room and he's like, yeah, I figured something like this will happen. Throws her out of the house. She's like, but my stuff. He's like, I don't care, get out. You can tell that, like, even though she's walking and leaving, that she would probably try to come back. So Adam and Eve immediately pack up. Adam, you know, he's like, what about my instruments? And she was like, we can get some more. And he's like, leaving all of his stuff in Detroit. And Eve is like, come with me to my place. So they get on a night flight to go to Eve's place. And there she has someone that she gets her blood from, another vampire, and he's sick. So when they get there, there's not a lot of blood left. So there's new dilemmas. The old dilemma comes back around, the dilemma of just not having access to good blood and not wanting to revert back to the classic vampire living of taking lives and draining people on the spot. In this country, there's not a lot of access to blood like it was in Detroit. So Eve basically goes on a hunt to find Adam at least one really nice rare instrument to make up for losing so many. And on her way to find it, Adam is just chilling right there, and he hears in the distance a singer. He's intrigued by her voice. So he goes to investigate, and he really likes her style. And the singer that's singing in the scene is actually a real singer. And I believe she's from Pakistan. Her name is Yasmin something. I'll try to find her information and put it in the video. In real life, I think her music is amazing. And in the movie, so did Adam. So he's enjoying the music. And he's like, you know what? Detroit was cool, but I can start over anywhere as long as there's creativity somewhere. It doesn't matter. That was his whole attitude towards it. He was taking a bad situation and, you know, bringing hope to it, even though his character seemed to be the most depressed character So that was an interesting character development for him. And they were running out of blood, but they both looked at each other. And this is towards the end of the movie. They're like, you know what? We gotta survive. We're gonna do what we gotta do. And, if it kills us, it kills us. And if it doesn't, we're just gonna get through this like we get through everything. So they find a couple, they start to attack that couple, and then the movie ends. So you never get a sense of violence or bloodshed or anything like that. You just get the idea of it. You know it's happening. But this movie's focusing more on what if people's bad habits, taint their blood for vampires, and how difficult forever and existing is for the vampire. How depressing it can be, how draining it can be, how chaotic it can be, how romantic it could be, how many things you get to learn and pass on. How deep do you want to be within human culture, or how subdued and how far in the background do you want to be? That perspective really inspired me to write my own vampire story where, yeah, the violence can be a part of it for sure, but there's so many different aspects that you can bring to the table when it comes to eternal life. And this movie is just incredible to me on so many different aspects, so many different planes. It's in Detroit. Detroit is such a ghost town of a city that it wouldn't be a bad place for a vampire to reside. You're not worried about the crime because you're eternal and you're powerful, but you're not worried about people because it's a ghost town. Like, you're gonna see people, but nowhere near as many as other big cities, but you get to enjoy the aspects of a big city. There is an artistic scene, there is a music scene, there's writing, there's so much culture, but at the same time you can really be left alone. So, and aesthetically, it was just such a beautiful movie. The music, the art, the character development, how being opposites, they attract, and it makes them close, and it makes them understand and appreciate each other. This movie was awesome. And if you're, thinking of watching a vampire movie, but you want to watch something that's not really that known and something that's more artistic, highly recommend this movie to anybody. So, that's my review on Only Lovers Left Alive. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble, and I apologize for spoilers. If you're still interested in watching the movie, I'm not sure where to watch it, but I bought my copy off of Amazon on Blu-ray, and it's not terribly expensive. It was like $20 maybe. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you feel inclined to, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the spooky season. Peace. Oh, and by the way, AFI is my favorite band, so had to rock this shirt. This is one of my favorite EPs from them. If you don't know about AFI, give them a listen. Tell me what you think. What's your favorite song by this band? I'd love to know in the comments below.